Yo, what's going on, yo? I'm JBHOOPS, and today I'm breaking down the game of one of the best scoring prospects in the 2023 draft, that being the 6'4 freshman out of Baylor, Keyonte George, and let's just get right into it with some of his numbers. So Keyonte George has been a little inefficient and he struggled with his consistency, but through 26 games he's averaging 16.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 3.1 assists, shooting 38.6% from the field, 33.7% from 3, and 80.6% from the stripe. Alright, to start it off, I want to talk about Keyonte George's greatest strength, which is his self-creation ability. Keyonte George is a straight up bucket. It doesn't matter how far out he is, where the defenders are, or what he's shot so far. He is just that confident in his shot making abilities. Keyonte has a super quick release on his pull-ups, gets good elevation, and he's really good at controlling his momentum to stop on a dime and rise into his shot. His handle is pretty tight and he's great at utilizing it along with his footwork and body control to create space, cover ground, and get to his spots. He's really crafty and uses an array of hezzies, crossovers, jump stops, step backs, and side steps to get his shot off. But at the moment, he's not the most consistent scorer in the mid-range, and he settles for too many pull-ups when he probably should just take it all the way to the rim. But Keyonte George's off-the-dribble pull-up range extends to well beyond the three-point line, making him a nightmare to defend. His ability to get buckets from anywhere forces the defense to really lock into him, which in turn makes everything easier for his teammates. One key thing Keyonte George needs to improve on is his shot selection. He's obviously an elite shot maker, but he needs to reduce some of the attempts early in the shot clock, and at times he can force shots without creating much separation. But I'm definitely still a huge believer in Keyonte George's potential as an on-ball creator, and I think his efficiency is only going to improve as he gets more comfortable getting to his spots and is more selective with his shot attempts. Keyonte George has also flashed his ability to break down his defender and get to the rim. However, due to George being such a confident shooter, he is probably over-reliant on jumpers and doesn't get to the rim as much as he'd like, although he has done a great job of drawing fouls and getting to the line when he does attack the basket. He's able to punish weaker defenders and switches, and he's great at leveraging his shooting prowess to shift his defenders' balance, so he can then attack their front foot and get downhill. He's made some really impressive finishes through contact, and also shown off his hang time, body control, and creative acrobatic layups. And he's also had some really impressive gathers when finishing at the rim. I think Keyonte George has some pretty solid bursts, so he can definitely beat his defender off the bounce, and as his handle develops, we should see that more and more. But for the most part, George's self-created shot attempts are generally jumpers. But I do think with NBA talent and spacing, we'll see more self-created rim attempts from Keyonte George. Now I want to talk a bit about his shooting versatility. Keyonte George might have an argument as the best shooter in the class. Yes, his percentages aren't elite, but he's an excellent shooter with a ton of versatility. His mechanics are pure, he has a quick release and super deep range, and can shoot it in any way. Whilst Keyonte George doesn't shoot a great percentage from 3 overall, he is a great shooter off the catch and doesn't miss many open spot-up attempts. He has excellent shot preparation, he's always ready to let one fly, and he has great footwork and balance to shoot off a hop or a few steps. He can also be extremely damaging as a movement shooter. Keyonte is such a good off-ball threat, largely due to his ability to move without the ball, find space, and either fire up a shot or attack gaps in the defense. He's great coming off of pin downs, curls, Spain pick and rolls, handoffs, it really doesn't matter. He has a quick trigger and fantastic touch, and he's great at controlling his momentum so his shot is balanced. I believe movement shooting will be a pretty significant part of George's game at the next level, and it just makes him that much more dangerous when playing off the ball alongside NBA stars. Another strength for Keyonte George is playmaking. George has played in multiple roles at Baylor this season, but I'm confident he has the ability to play either guard position because of how good of a playmaker he is. Keyonte has a similar mentality with his passing as he does with scoring. He is just absolutely fearless with his passing. He recognizes an opening in the defense or an opportunity to set his teammate up for an easy look and he takes it. He makes super quick reads and has impressive vision. He can pass with either hand and for the most part is hitting his guys in stride or in their shooting pocket. Keyonte George is also a very good playmaker in the pick and roll. His scoring gravity forces defenders to step up, and that often leaves his roller open for a pocket pass, dump off or lob, and Keyonte is very good at finding them. But what has stood out for me is his ability to anticipate the help and use his head and eyes to deceive defenders. He's great at looking off a defender and firing an interior pass, and in the pick and roll specifically, he sees the roller getting tagged by the weak side help and doesn't hesitate to fire a skip pass over to the corner, as you see here in these clips. And this gives me a lot of confidence for what he'll be able to do with NBA spacing and talent. Whilst I think George has the talent to be a phenomenal playmaker, he still has some pretty frustrating plays. At times his decisions look a bit predetermined, and he isn't great at handling blitzes and doubles and can be quite turnover prone, or he can just get tunnel vision and completely miss an open cutter or shooter. But in totality, his passing has been really cool to see, and I think it's a strength for him that should develop even further once he gets to the league. Now moving on to his finishing. Like I said earlier, Keyonte George doesn't get to the rim a whole lot, but he has shown off his finishing craft, body control, and touch with his finishes. He's a strong finisher and not afraid of contact at all. He can finish with either hand around the basket and use a variety of gathers and moves to negate shot blockers, but what stands out the most is his ridiculous touch. He has made some absurd shots from over 10 feet out, some where he anticipates contact and just throws one up, and others are just legit floaters that Keyonte has the ability to make. Whilst he hasn't thrown down many dunks this year, he does have some bounce when he gets a little runway and space. He's definitely a below the rim finisher in crowds, but if he gets a wide open lane or out in transition, he's for sure capable of throwing one down. He's also a very solid cutter, and with his shooting gravity, he should be able to get some easy ones where he's overplayed and denied. And I think as he develops his handle and strength, as well as improves on his already great set of counters, Keyonte George is going to be a true 3-level scorer and an extremely difficult cover. Now finally, I want to break down his defense. A lot of guards with Keyonte George's offensive load can be really poor on the defensive end, and it's generally most noticeable through their point of attack defense. But for the most part, I've been really impressed with how good George is at defending the ball when he's locked in. He's an excellent lateral mover, has quick hands and a really strong frame, so he has the ability to guard a variety of positions and play styles. He's also great at sliding and defending with his feet, so he can block off driving angles and keep his matchup from getting to their spots. His off-ball defense is a bit of a different story. Defensively, a lot of the issues for Keyonte come off the ball. He can lose track of his man, be late on rotations, get stuck on screens, or just get caught asleep. And he'll have to improve in this area because his current level of off-ball defense will be exposed even further in the NBA. Now, a lot of the issues can be easily improved upon, and Keyonte does have a pretty huge offensive load, so some of the bad possessions are probably just a result of him being gassed. Now, it's definitely not all bad. He's had some impressive moments in help, jumping passing lanes, denying the ball and making rotations, and I've also been impressed with his verticality around the basket, but it's a part of his game he'll have to improve nevertheless. Now for my draft projection and overall thoughts. I really love Keyonte George's game and think he can be a star in the NBA. He's an elite shooter and shot creator, a crafty driver and a very skilled passer. He has some areas to work on for sure, but the talent is undeniable and so is the star upside. And for those reasons, I currently have Keyonte George as a top 7 player in the class, and I think there's a realistic possibility he could be a top 5 pick in the 2023 draft. Alright, that's all I got for this one. Remember to leave a like and subscribe for more. Comment your thoughts and questions down below, I'll make sure to answer them all. Anyway, that's all I got. JBHOOPS, out.